Hello, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's cocktail chat time. We have a very special guest with us today. One of my favorite people in the whole wide world.
Hi.
And we're drinking cucumber,
Jalapeno,
cilantro,
lime juice.
margaritas. Hi, Helmea. Hey, Michelle. How's it going, guys? How are ya? Michelle, you should be here with us, you know?
Have I met Michelle?
Yes. Yeah,
Too
she
many
was here.
Pete's.
She was here at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Amy. Hey, Amy. Hey, Maya. Maya was at your house
Yeah,
this
of
weekend.
course.
Hi, Angela. Hi, peeps. This is Brian's first Facebook Live. He's a Facebook Live virgin. And I've done I don't know, probably 500 of these things, no joking, because I do them every day, sometimes more than once. Hey, Frederick. Hi, Frederick. Hey, Lisa. Cheers, everybody. It is an amazing drink, Juanita. Hi, Brenda. An amazing drink.
She didn't make them spicy enough, though.
I didn't, I know.
Yeah, I
The
had to doctor it
jalapeno
up.
was a little lacking for his taste. Hi, Roseanne. Hi, Manjeet. So we're making, in case you're just joining us, and actually, Michelle, if you're watching, I was gonna just see if anybody was asking to be added to the group while we were live, but if you actually might be up for that, that would be amazing, because I don't think I'll really be seeing notifications. So far we're good. Everybody's in. So we'll go with that. We created this 8 years, I know, and we are it's only just starting. It's only just beginning. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. So
Can I chew gum on Facebook Live?
you can do whatever you want on Facebook Live. That's
Okay.
the cool thing about
Oh,
it.
I might take that
This is about being you. So yeah.
Okay. I might be me and put it back in a bit, but...
Yeah. So, okay, so what we always do on cocktail chats is I always give you guys the recipe for the cocktail that I'm drinking. So, I'll do that right now. If I can remember. This is like a...
And then I'll give you my tailored version.
Because then he added to it, which is kind of right, that's how relationships work beautifully, isn't it? Like, you create together. Hey, Carol. So this is tequila. So I don't even know if I can give you guys the proportions. Normally I know them a little bit more, but it's about two shots of tequila, about 2 shots of lime juice. What else did I put in it? About a little bit less than that of simple syrup. Well, what I did was I put tequila and a few little sprigs of cilantro and some slices of jalapeno. I just put 3. He would have probably rather that I put 10.
It's gotta have some bite.
I know. Right? This is my first jalapeno cucumber margarita. So, we're just experimenting here. So a couple slices of jalapeno, couple sprigs of cilantro, cucumber. I diced up cucumber and I put it in with the tequila and then muddled it in the bottom of my shaker. And then I put in lime juice, and then I put in tequila, more tequila.
We did.
I put in a lot of tequila. What else did I put in here? I think that's it, actually.
We got a nice healthy rim of salt.
Rim of salt. You know what you do for the rim? You get you just slice a lime, and you take the lime around the rim and you squeeze it a little bit, and then you just edge the glass around salt on a plate.
Before you put the cocktail
Then you put the ice
in.
in.
Yeah.
Then you put the ice in too. Because I used when I started doing this, I would always put the ice in first, and then it would be oops.
And then if you want to have it a little bit picante, what I did was I took the jalapeno pepper, the other half of the jalapeno pepper, and I ran it across a zester. And I got about 1/4 of a teaspoon of jalapeno zest. And I put that in mine. You might be able to see the little floaty green guys here.
This man knows what he's doing in the kitchen way more than I do. Can I try yours?
Of course.
Oh. That's Brian style.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, so there you have it. Cucumber, jalapeno, margarita, basically. So thanks for being here, everybody. And, you know, on these cocktail chats, they're sort of just, Brian was like, what exactly do we do, you know? It's just a hangout, you know, just hang out, shoot the shit, nothing all that significant. You guys can ask questions in the chat. We can see your comments, you know, so if there's anything you want to know, you know, I don't know, we might tell them everything. We'll see. It depends on how much tequila we drink, right?
That's right.
So, yeah, so we're going to talk about relationships, faith, cocktail recipes, yep. And I would say that whatever we're going to say really does apply to like all relationships, really, you know, I mean, not just the romantic ones, but I guess we'll be talking more about the romantic ones, but tell them how we met. I don't want to
God, the long version or the abbreviated
The abbreviated
version?
version.
Well, we met on a retreat in Antigua, and it was right after I was separated from my then wife of 18 years or so. And I basically went on this retreat to get the tail out from underneath my legs, and went there with no intention at all of meeting someone. I was still licking my wounds. It was basically just for personal growth. And I met someone.
Sorry,
and
not sorry.
you were coming off quite a jaded relationship as well.
Yeah, I had gotten divorced. Well, I had gotten divorced like 2 years earlier, and my divorce was okay, but it was just like, it wasn't like a big epic drama. I mean, we both actually have great relationships with our exes and all of that. We've been able to really create something wonderful with them, you know, co-parenting on both parts. He has 3 kids. So that's been really cool. It's been such a gift. So that's why I say these things apply, whatever we're going to talk about, it's like it applies, you know, across the board, whoever you're in a relationship with. It's like kindness and honoring and, you know, not having to be right all the time. I mean, there's just so many pieces of that. But yeah, I got this I got this email in my inbox, and it was this thing about intimacy. What was it called? What was it? Intuition and vision?
Yeah.
Yeah. Intuition and Vision, this Tantra Retreat in Antigua. I didn't know the people that were putting it on. I had just gotten on their list from like a Google search at one point. And I'll never forget sitting in my office, the email came in and it was like, the universe was like, you're going. And I wasn't doing access consciousness at the time, but I was, you know, I played with stuff. I played with tools, I played with energy, and I was like, okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to Antigua, huh? And I literally was just like, okay, universe, you know, show me the money and I'll look into this, you know. So I started looking into it. And about a month before the retreat, I got this really strong sense that I was going to meet somebody there. And it was just, I didn't make it significant at all. It was just sort of like, okay, well, I wonder what that's about, you know. And I didn't, you know, it wasn't like I was like pining away and just waiting to meet, you know, to get there to find my person, you know. But it was just a curious, you know, hit that I got. And I walked in the first night and I looked around and I was like, oh, apparently I'm not meeting somebody here, you know. And then this guy comes in late and sits down right in front of me and I'm like, oh, maybe I am. And that was the beginning. That was almost 8 years ago. And, you know, one of the things that we were
do you want to tell him how we broke a rule?
Do you want to tell him?
I don't remember all the details.
Well, I think this is brilliant because you're kind of a rule follower, and like more than I am.
But
you
at the time, at the time, I didn't know that it was breaking a rule.
Right. So this is a Tantra retreat, right? And there's all kinds of stuff that you do with people's genitals and, you know, bodies.
And it's all done in a really safe space, honoring a lot of boundaries. But there was one boundary that they forgot to tell us about at the beginning of the retreat.
These people they were doing these retreats every 6 months, and every single time, and we went to many, many after this one together. Every time they would say, don't hook up with somebody here. Don't hook up with somebody here. Don't hook up with Somehow they forgot to say that. And because I know him, he would have been like, no, we're not supposed to. And I would have been like, yes, we are. And luckily we didn't have that information, so we did. Yeah. We broke a rule that we didn't even know existed. But it was like from the beginning, it was just sort of like, just like not having expectations. And so interesting because he had just decided to get divorced, right? Pretty shortly.
Yeah, like a month beforehand.
Yeah. And so, his kids didn't know at the time, and it was like, he was, going to go home from this thing and take his life apart, basically. And here we are, like, oh shit, this is epic. This is really epic. And
because you had just gotten through with it, just packed everything up, and
with my divorce.
Yeah. And then I had to roll you through it again.
The first year was a little interesting. But there was this adoration that we had for each other, really, that was right out of the gate, really. And, this isn't like, this is how all relationships start, because they start in lots of different ways, But that we just saw something and we were like, okay, you live in Washington State, I live in Colorado, we live a 2-hour flight away from each other. You have kids, you have a business, I have kids, I have a business, you're going to get divorced. But it was like, but there's something, like we're not willing to walk away from this. So what do you want to say? I don't want to be, I'm really good at just blabbing.
Well, you continue to blab because I'll just I'll say something when I have something to say.
Cool.
But I'm having fun going down memory lane with you, so you keep talking.
Well, we were actually doing that today. We were like, wow, we because in the beginning, like, and this is where access consciousness has been such a huge gift to me. And I would say to us, really, because Brian doesn't, do access, quote unquote, like he doesn't go to classes and stuff. And that is so hugely supportive of me and what I do, which I'm so grateful for. But we have this space, and what's the thing that makes our relationship different from others? Well, that I would say a lot of relationships most relationships in this world are about control. And we don't even realize it, but when you start to look at it, it's like people try to control each other to be something. I want you to be something that works for me, that allows me to stay the same, that allows me to keep my life, comfortable and happy and all of that. And when people, so relationships are so often about actually controlling each other, and not giving somebody the space to go and to fly and to do what they're going to do in the world. And, we don't live together. We have 8 years. We don't live together. We don't really have plans to live together. We do have plans to see each other more often. But we don't, it's never like every time I've ever wanted to go off to Europe or go off to Australia or he goes kiteboarding and, scuba diving and goes on, tell him about your trip to Vietnam. And this is so cool.
Oh, in a midlife crisis mode, decided to go to Vietnam by myself and rent a motorcycle and just an off-road motorcycle and go off-road and just do it all by myself. I'd never been on a trip by myself before. And, I didn't... I'm trying to think back because it's been a couple of years ago, and there wasn't really even much conversation about it. Like, can I go on this trip to Vietnam?
Because we don't do that.
Yeah.
We never do that with each other. It's never like, hey, is it okay with you if I, it's like, hey, I want to do this, And then the other person is like, go. You know, I'm like, you want to go to Vietnam on a motorcycle adventure by yourself? Go! And I'm going to go to Costa Rica and go to 7-day and, you know, and yeah.
Well, what I wanted to say was that we talked really early about, I don't know, maybe we'd been going out for like 2 weeks or 2 months or something, and we both said we're never going to get married to each other. You know, we'd been there, done that, and I thought a lot about this, and this is just my interesting point of view, but that when you're in a relationship that is within the confines of a structure, marriage is a structure there, that creates kind of a false boundary to be who you are and to be who we are, because somewhere in the back of your mind, at least in the back of my mind, I couldn't always be authentically myself in my marriage because I thought I had to work within the boundaries of that marriage. And it's just this subtle back door that would kind of prop up the relationship because, oh, we're married, you know? And we didn't want to have any false struts holding up our relationship. I mean, if it was going to fall apart, we didn't want to have the fact that we were married kind of keeping us together, because, you know, divorce is such a pain in the ass, but sometimes people just stay together because of
they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, and we didn't want any of that. We wanted this to be as organic as possible for ourselves together and for us to be as individuals who we are. And so I remember talking about that early on in creating a situation which didn't falsify the relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Well, and you know what I would actually like to talk about, because I feel like the kind of like the juiciest part of our relationship, in a way, like in terms of where we really had to show up and use whatever tools we were using and whatever tools we had, and be like really stretch into being more like ourselves and with each other, is this past year. And this is like, if you're on my email list, I wrote an email about this earlier, that, you know, I took this sex and relationship class with Gary Douglas and Dane here last September. So it was just about a year ago. And it was after actually a summer of kind of like, I had been traveling a ton and we hadn't been seeing each other a lot. And we kind of got into this groove of like really taking each other for granted, and sort of just like, yeah, we'll see each other when we can. And the thing is, when you have a long distance relationship, if seeing each other kind of loses its priority, it can really erode the relationship.
Life gets in the way, and it makes it really easy not to see each other.
Yeah. And so we've been so good at that until last summer, I would say. I was gone pretty much all summer, and it was all this, you know, awesome stuff, and yet we weren't prioritizing our time together. And so I go to this class, and there wasn't even anything specific, but it just opened up my whole universe around what I knew that I wanted to have. And I was like, God, we're not having that right now. You know, like, we're just kind of a little bit bored. And we've kind of got into a groove, even though we're not married, you know, and we didn't get married because we didn't want to get into a groove. We've kind of gotten into a groove. And it was like the gratitude wasn't there. And, you know, we talk about this a lot in Access, that rather than love, I love you, which we do tell each other that we love each other all the time. And I get to us, like, it means there's something, you know, to that. But for a lot of people, love is a distraction. Love is about judgment. Love is about, you do what I want you to do, and that means I love you, or you show up the way that I want you to do, and that means that I love you. And to me, love is an immensity of gratitude, which is like, when I tell you that I love you, that's a huge part of what that is. And I felt like the gratitude was gone, you know, and so we just started digging around, basically, and going, okay, what do we want? You know, do we want to be with each other? Do we not want to be with each other? Do we want to see other people? Do we not want to see other people?
Yeah, and so we started talking about, how do we want to go from here? And we started talking about being with other people and opening up the relationship. And I remember the first time we were talking about this, I got on my computer and I Googled, I went to YouTube. And open relationships. And you'd be surprised how much stuff is out there how much good stuff is out there on open relationships, because I'd never been in one before. Sorry, love.
That's okay.
I'd never been in an open relationship before, and it's like, okay, I know this is full of potential pitfalls and traps, and how do you make this consciously work and intelligently work? And so we started talking, and we came up with a bunch of agreements.
Well, I have to interject because this was amazing. We went out to dinner one night and he had a list. He had a list of everything that we needed to talk about before we made any agreements as to whether we were going to do this or not, which was such a gift because it was like, hey, and so, you may not be exploring this for yourself, but here's a beautiful example of honoring each other in a relationship, right? And having agreements, like being clear on what your agreements are. And we went through the list. Mm-hmm. And it was so cool. I was so grateful that you did all that research. And he was like, what about this? What about that? Are there any people that are off limits? Are there any scenarios that are off limits?
Yeah. Do you tell each other, do you not tell each other? Do you see the same person twice? Just so many little things, and having clear communication about that. If you're thinking about an open relationship, our relationship was quasi-open, I guess, for a few months.
We've always given each other the freedom to do whatever, like there's always been that space. So yeah. This was just taking it to another kind of level. Yeah,
but it was great to move forward from that point with a foundation.
Yeah.
There. Agreements.
And I would say too, like just to give you guys tools and awareness and energies, it's like one of the things that's always been the case for us, which I would say is a huge part of the greatness of what we have, is that we don't have any interest in controlling each other, but we also really know that doesn't work. It's actually it's an energy that kills the relationship. And so if there's anything that he feels like he can't do, that he wants to do, but he can't do it because of me, that's going to kill our relationship. It's going to kill any relationship. People start to get, resentful and feel trapped and feel controlled. And, people suck at, being controlled, especially if you're a humanoid. It's not a good reality.
Well, I think one of the best ways to reflect on control, if you don't think you're in control, or if you do think you're in control, one question that you can ask that can shed a lot of light on the situation is, if you love your partner, do you love them enough to let them go?
Yeah. And
Heather has told me from day one, and I've told her from day one, that your happiness is paramount to me.
Yeah.
And if it ain't me, I want you to have someone else.
Yeah.
And we've never let that stay in the way of us. And I know that there are lots of relationships out there where, my definition of love is the desire for her to be her happiest there. And if it's not with me, it ain't with me. Mm-hmm. But, there's lots of different definitions of love, but I think that allows you and your partner to grow and just go to any direction when you have that as the ultimate definition of love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. And the thing is that it's pragmatic, because if you if you're not actually cheering somebody on for their complete and total happiness, then what the fuck are you doing? And if you want them to not pursue what makes them extraordinarily happy in order to stay with you, it's an erosion of their life and living and their joy, and it's going to erode your relationship. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So if you want a relationship that works, it's not always the easiest thing to be like, okay, you want to go and do this thing? Okay, like, I know this is going to make you happy, and I desire that. I mean, it is the easiest thing, and it also, there are moments where it's like, okay, and the open relationship conversation was one of those, I would say, like, and people are asking some questions about it. What was the difference between being free to do whatever and being in an open relationship? Well, we had always kind of been like, hey, if you're ever in front of somebody and there's an opportunity to play, and it's going to actually contribute to your life, please do it. Go for it. So that's always been there. And this was more like, let's check this out. Let's explore this and see what happens. And one of the things that we did that I really thought was fucking cool is that we agreed, one of the bigger agreements I would say that we made with this whole thing was, we were both kind of like, I don't really want to know.
Yeah, because in doing my research, it was so interesting to find out how every open relationship is different. There's some couples who want to know everything, all the little details, and that can be, a contribution to the couple when they tell about their different experiences. And then others are just like, I just want to know, that you were with someone and you're back, and that's cool. And other people didn't want to know anything. And I think, we fell into that latter category there.
So our agreement was basically kind of like, don't ask. Well, not don't ask, but it was basically like, I like, don't tell me unless I ask you. And if I ask you, tell me. Yeah. And I won't tell you unless you ask me. And if you ask me, I will tell you. I will tell you everything. I will tell you everything that you ask. So there was this freedom to talk about it with each other. We knew that was always there. And, we didn't until recently. And what's interesting is, so we did that, and then we actually ended up breaking up for a little bit. And we were like, okay, well, maybe this is done. Maybe this is over. Maybe this is not happening. And we spent a nice, long, miserable month.
It's over a month.
Yeah, it was, it felt like a year. Yeah. And I went to Seattle for a booty call. And we were like, what the fuck are we doing? We adore each other. Oh my God, this is crazy, And but it was so cool because we slowly started making our way back together, but it was actually like, hey, destroy and uncreate this, whatever this has been, it isn't anymore, and, oh, Gertrude is having her bars run. I love it. It's so awesome. You're stretching. I love it. Yeah. And so we, and I won't say, like, I don't think either one of us felt like this is the easiest. I mean, for me, this past year has been really hard in a lot of ways. Like, there's been, pretty gut wrenching moments, and I'm now seeing, like, there's just so many ways where this whole journey, has affected my life and other areas of my life, and it's all been amazing. I mean, it's been such a gift. Manjeet, so many things you're saying is so required. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And we just knew basically that we wanted each other. We wanted to be in each other's lives. We wanted each other in our lives. And we were like, that we know that. Now, what's it going to look like? What's it going to look like? And also agreeing to go, we don't know what it's going to look like, and we don't really want to know what it's going to look like. Let's just play. Let's create. Let's be together. Let's see each other and see where this goes,
And also acknowledging that, life changes and we change, and the Brian that wakes up tomorrow is not going to be the Brian who's sitting here right now, and the same thing with you. And the Heather and Brian who wake up tomorrow are not going to be the Heather and Brian who go to bed tonight, and being okay with that, you know, and you know, honoring change and accepting change and celebrating it and be willing to change and do different things together.
Yeah, and it's just been, there's just always been a lot of communication. I would say that, like, communication is an interesting word. You know, communication oftentimes to people means I'm going to tell you my truth and you're going to listen, and that's that, you know. But for us, it's like, hey, what's true for you? I want to know what's true for you. I want to honor what's true for you, and I genuinely want to know because I want to know you. You know, I would say for both of us, it's like this real.
If you can't honor, you know, your partner's truth, you're probably in the relationship for the wrong reason, right?
Yeah, and that celebration of, like, I adore you so much that I truly, truly, truly desire for you to be as happy as you can be every day, whether it includes me or not, you know. And the whole, when we started looking at, well, maybe it doesn't include me, you know, we were both kind of like, oh, you know. And luckily we realized we were being dumb. We had to try it. We had to give it a little go for a little bit there. But it's been so cool because we started just, okay, well, let's see each other this weekend, and let's see each other this weekend. And oh man, I want to see you all the fucking time, you know? and really, like, just letting it blossom in its own way, in a totally different way.
I want you to tell them about one of our best rules that we've been.
So we have some rules. They're not really
This is
rules.
the best one.
This is. Well, I don't know which one you're talking about. I mean,
I'm talking about, yeah.
Okay, so we have this. We have this agreement. And we really do. We totally stick to it. Highly recommended. And it goes like this: one freak out at a time. So if one person in the relationship is freaking out,
they get dibs.
They get dibs.
Yep.
The other person doesn't actually get to freak out. Like, you have to wait.
Sorry.
You have to wait to freak out at another time. The freak out position has been taken. And I cannot tell you what a fucking contribution that has been.
Well, because if you think of it from an energetic standpoint, it's you know, freak out is a wave of energy, and you have two freakouts coming, and just like any other wave, they can compound, right?
Yeah.
So
well, they always do, especially in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
They're gonna.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, it's, if everyone did that, right?
Again, very pragmatic.
It may not work for you, but it works great for us.
It does, and the thing is that we're willing to use it, and that's, you know, it's like you have to be willing to. Well, you can't be committed to trauma and drama. That's a big part of what neither one of us is. Like, we're actually really, we don't fight. Like, we really don't fight. We have had a few moments, but I wouldn't. Would you say that we've ever had a fight?
No, because again, that falls back to the agreement that you know, fights happen when both people are freaking out.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we don't do that, and we're really willing to we honor that. And so if one person's freaking out, it's like, okay, you know, I'm gonna be here for you, you know, and I'm not gonna let your drama escalate my drama and escalate your drama and mine. And like you were saying, you know, no. The position is taken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, relationship, you can't be committed to trauma and drama different much. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is some people actually, a lot of people in this world are committed to trauma and drama, whether it's in relationships or just in their lives. And, it's very, it's very, well,
because that can give them sometimes the only excitement to their relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like this. Well, here's what happens with a lot of people is it makes you feel like you have intimacy. Like some people need a level of intensity to have intimacy. And so they think when they like have a big explosion and then they make up, make-up sex, right? It's so good, but it doesn't, it's this like polarized situation. So when one of you are wonky, do you expect the other person to help you with it and be there for you? I wouldn't say we expect it, but we do. We show up for each other for sure. And, if we can't, like, if one of us is busy or whatever, it's like, hey, sweetheart, like, I've got your back. I'm with you. And I can't talk to you right now, but I'm here. And there's an energetic presence that we have with each other.
And, most people who are probably watching get this, that, but there's some people there who just don't want to tell their partner that they're in a wonky state, but we do it all the time.
All the time.
How are you doing today? I'm feeling wonky. And
Yeah, and just really like be there to contribute to each other, and it's a partnership, it is a partnership, and we don't have the point of view that we're doing all of it 100% all the time together, and yet there's this presence that we have in each other's lives that is like we're both really committed to, that allows it to just flourish and grow. And somebody asked if we freak out agreement, right? I know. Do you have an agreement with
I have an
your
attorney
kids?
who can draw one up for you.
You can sign. Forget a prenup. Do a freak out agreement. Do you guys have an agreement with your kids and parenting? Well, this is another thing that's really different about us is we actually in the very beginning, I think for a little bit we were like, oh, maybe we'll live together someday and we have 5 children between the two of us, And once I started doing Access, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to do the thing that everybody says that you have to do. So that really changed that for me. And we went, oh man.
Well, and you told me after about a month, you were like, you are not going to be parenting my kids, and I do not want to parent your kids. And I'm like,
deal. Yeah. It's like, I was like, I don't actually need 3 more children. I'm good. I have 2. And he didn't, his kids were older.
That worked for us.
Yeah. Because, my kids were 2 and 5 and yours were in their teens, right? So he was like, like we didn't need to do that, and we didn't live together. And, so there's that whole thing. And our kids have met each other a few times, but they're not in each other's lives in a dynamic way. We're in the kids' lives, but even that, like, it's not, my kids have a dad, his kids have a mom.
And it's different because we're in a long distance relationship.
Totally. And it would be different if we lived in the same town, of course, but it's really something that we've also chosen where we were like, let's spend our time together by ourselves, because that's really fun for us, like we don't have
we've been lucky. That's one great thing about a long distance relationship is that the times that we do get together, it is new every time.
So much gratitude there for being together.
Although we do stuff with the kids, today we went to the market with them and things, but it's the times that we spend together, it's mostly just us. It's like we get to do these 2 or 3 day vacations, a few times a month.
Yeah. Nothing like laying down the line, even if the other one might agree. Yeah. Muted?
Well, it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
When you lay down your truth.
Yeah. So, somebody asked if we were still in an open relationship.
No, we are in the next 10 seconds we are.
In an open relationship? Or we're monogamous?
We're monogamous for the next 10 seconds is what I meant to say.
Yeah. So we realized, just actually like a week ago or something, really recently, we were like, we revisited the whole conversation. We hadn't actually talked about it. Like
we hadn't technically gotten back together out of the quasi-open relationship. We didn't really end that.
Yeah, and we were just like wanting to be together more and spending more time together and just really loving what we were creating and being together and it was actually really amazing because we had this conversation kind of just spontaneously. And we were like, well, we haven't really talked about this, you know, what do we want to do now? And we were both kind of like, I don't really feel like being with anybody else. And okay, so let's not, you know, and we decided to, how hot, expansive, and amazing can monogamy be? Very. Very.
Mm-hmm.
Extraordinarily. And that's definitely what we're creating and experiencing. And it's really kind of always been that way. I mean, we met at a Tantra Retreat, you know. I mean, this is one thing, we're not going to dive into this because, well, this isn't a sex chat, although maybe we'll do one of those. I'd have to probably give him more tequila for that, but no, he's pretty good. If you're not having really good sex with your partner, change it. whatever that means for you. Good sex with your partner is essential. It is essential. It is essential. Mm-hmm. If your body isn't nourished and nurtured and lit up and turned on by the person that you're with, figure out how it can be, or find somebody else, or
consider a Tantra retreat. There were so many couples at the retreats that we went to whose lives were just blown open again because they were taught to consciously love their partners that they never did before.
Yeah, and those retreats don't actually happen anymore, the ones that we used to go to. Otherwise, I would recommend them. Tantra is interesting. There's definitely some crazy shit that goes on in the Tantra world. There's a lot of crazy shit that goes on. We were lucky to have these beautiful teachers that actually were very much about honoring and presence and healing, like sex as a practice of healing and nurturing and awakening, and in like just a gift and a contribution. And so that was always the energy, you know, where we did these classes. You know, there's a lot of people that do Tantra that don't have the, I would say, like, integrity. Like, it's more of like, who can I fuck kind of a thing. There's just that, there can be that energy. So you got to be aware of that. But it was so beautiful to be in these scenarios where we would go every 6 months for the first like 2.5 years, I think. And just like you learn actually how to nurture your partner's body and how to touch them and how to touch them in different ways and new ways and all kinds of things that...
you think when you're 40 years old that you know how to touch and you know how to fuck and you know how to please your partner, but unconsciously, you know, very few people do, and we learned a little bit and
took it from there.
Yeah, took it from there.
We've been, you know, it's been our laboratory. So, but yeah, and it was so cool when we came back, when we were like, okay, let's be monogamous again. It just created this incredible space that we are very much enjoying, and really this sense of like, for me, it actually like opened up my whole world, and that's a story for another time, but really opened up my whole world, and just getting like what it creates for me, not as a conclusion, not like we have to do this forever now. And because part of what it creates is that we're like, for 10 seconds, we're monogamous, you know? And we've also agreed that if that changes, we change it before we do anything, you know? It doesn't change because you're like, in this 10 seconds, I'm going to fuck somebody and then I'll tell them later, you know? That's not the deal. The deal is, let's reassess. Let's look at this and see if we want to change it. It's an honoring of where we are now. And we're like, okay, cool. Now we're monogamous for as long as we're monogamous. And then we're willing to play. We're willing to change. And that's the thing, is if you want to be with somebody for a long time, you have to be willing to move and grow and change and shift. And otherwise, again, it's not going to work.
If you don't allow space to change, it won't.
It doesn't, or it just dies. It becomes this conclusionary reality that just dies on the vine, you know? And it's like, So I would say, I talk a lot about the access consciousness, 5 elements of intimacy: gratitude, honoring, allowance, vulnerability, and trust. And what's so cool about this beautiful man right here is that he lives that. And I would say we live that, and we never, this may be like the second time you've heard about what that is. Like, it's not like I go, well, we're going to have the 5 elements of intimacy, We don't talk about it. We don't talk about access. I don't facilitate him. Like, it's not, I do processes on him and stuff, but he bees it, and we be it with each other. And so, couple things. One is that is absolutely central to any relationship. That's like anything that you would like to have, that with yourself, you have to have it with yourself. You have to have it with yourself. Mm-hmm. If you're going to have it with somebody else, you have to have it with yourself. You cannot have vulnerability with somebody else if you don't have it with you. You can't have allowance and gratitude and trust and honoring with somebody else if you don't have it with you.
And I don't think I could be in this relationship right now with her if I didn't do a shit pile of work on myself beforehand. I mean, really, I was 40 going on 12, but seriously.
No, I'm laughing because I'm a fucking bulldozer. And you hang with me, like, dynamically. It's amazing.
But
it's such a gift.
But my point being is that I think so many, I've seen so many relationships fail because the people haven't done the work on themselves. Yeah. And they expect it to be done on their partners when, it all starts here. So I was fortunate to have done a lot of work before I met her, because if I hadn't done that work, we wouldn't be together.
Yeah. Well, me too. Because I would have been like, oh, we have to get married and we have to blah, just believing all the shit, the lies of this reality when it comes to relationships, instead of going, what's actually true for me? What's true for you? I'm starting to get a sense of what's true for me. What's true for you in this 10 seconds? Does it match? I wonder. If it doesn't, okay, like, let's, because there's no way that that we can force this to work, It has to be this organic creation. And it is. Our relationship is a creation that we create every day. We choose every day. We choose how it's going to look every day. And we're very present with each other every day, whether, whatever it is that we're doing in the world, wherever we are in the world. And a lot of times that's not together. And sometimes he's in Vietnam and I'm in Costa Rica, and he's in a remote, village on his motorcycle, and I'm in a 7-day, or, he's kiteboarding, and and now we're, we were just talking today of like, hey, we've been seeing each other a lot more over the past 4 months or 3 months or something like that. And we're like, this is fun. Let's do this more, let's make this a priority, how can we, and so we even were looking at like, well, how can we be doing our schedules? Because we went, oh shit, when, we started making all these plans before things changed, and we just realized like, there's going to be 2 months where we're going to see each other once, and that used to be okay. And it's not really at the moment. And so, okay, what can we adjust? How can we adjust how we create our schedules, how we create our travel, how we consult each other and what we look at together and what we're doing together, that is going to actually allow us to have more time together. That's what we're choosing right now. We're not in the lie that, well, this is going to be forever. We're going to do this. And, because there could be a time where we're like, hey, let's have more time apart. We don't know. We do and we don't, right? Yeah. So, I hope this has been a contribution to you guys. Really, there's nothing wrong with, I guess there's so many things that I have to say about this topic, and I think the biggest is that relationships in this reality are just such a lie and such a fantasy, and they don't work. They're not pragmatic. They don't work. And yet people go after them as if somehow they're going to. If I can just control this person, if I can just change this person, if I can just make them what I want them to be, then it'll be fine. But guess what? Nobody wants to be controlled, including you, I'm sure, you know. Nobody wants to be controlled. Nobody wants to be squelched. Nobody wants to have to shrink their life to fit into yours. And that might, you know, mean that you've got to like, you know, kind of like buck up with your own self and be like, okay, this isn't exactly what I would choose in this moment, but I'm gonna, because I adore this person and this is a contribution to me, and honor this person. And I get that whatever this is right now is going to create more for them. And it's going to create, as a result, it's going to create more for us. And it's also going to create more for me, even though I might want to throw a little tantrum right now, you know. And just rolling with it. But you have to be clear with you, and that doesn't mean you have to know everything right now, but just, you know, perpetually choosing more, and be clear with your partner. Like, be willing to talk to them about what's going on, you know. That's where a lot of this falls short is, you know, people don't talk about this stuff. Like, we could have been like, let's have an open relationship. Okay. You know, and we could have both been like freaking out and so upset about it and like wondering.
And both of us are genuinely interested in the other's truth. You know,
yeah.
You know, what's your truth today?
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, it can be so many different things, and it can be, you know, crazy, and it could be beautiful, and it could be perverted, and it could be, you know, dark, but it can be light, you know, but, you know, to be really interested in the other person's truth.
Yeah, and to be space for somebody else is one of the greatest gifts that you can give anybody, and it is a gift that when you give it to somebody.
Space queen. She's the queen of space. You are.
You're the space king. And when you be that for somebody, it's a gift to you. It's a gift to the world. It's a gift to you, so dynamically. And these are the ways that we get to expand our lives in very unexpected ways. So I just am so grateful for all of you for being here. I'm really, really grateful for you for so many reasons. And just for sharing and being willing to talk to strangers about our stuff, you know. So fucking brilliant.
I'm not talking to strangers. I got this camera that I'm talking to. But...
Yeah, and I'm gonna be doing more classes on this stuff too. If you guys want to, you know, be like asking questions and looking at your stuff and, you know, just exploring this world for you. I do have a Being You, what is it called? It's called Relationships, the Adventure of Being You, which I would say is exactly what we do. It's a 1-day class. It's coming up at the end of August 20-something. The last Sunday in August.
You should make a class, the allowance of letting your partner be them.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I would say when you be you, you are willing for other people to be them, you know, and like you said, it starts with you, right? Yeah. And we talk about that. I mean, in relationship classes, we definitely talk about that. Cool. But the last Sunday in August, it's going to be here in this beautiful home in Boulder, Colorado. So you can come and I can make you some cocktails.
I'd just come for the cocktails.
And it's also going to be live streamed on Zoom. And so what that means is that you can actually be kind of in the room on Zoom. It's a Zoom, you know, webinar, be asking questions. And it's going to be juicy and epic. And if I can remember the link, it's heathernichols.com. I think it's /BY relationships, Being You relationships. It's a part of the Being You program, and it's a special topic. We have all these topic classes. So Bernice says, so grateful to you both. Thank you for this. You've shown me to keep going. In this 10 seconds, I don't choose relationship, because I haven't found anyone yet who is willing to create with me in this way. How does it get better than that?
Perfect.
What would it take for that to show up with total ease? And you know what, Bernice? I didn't have the tools of access when we met, but I asked for him. I asked for him for years, actually, but I was really clear on what I desired. And this is something that we talk about in this class too, when we go wherever people want to go. But I was really clear on what I desired. And I was really clear on what I didn't desire as well. And I filled up fucking journals at the time. I'd be like, dear universe, you know, like, bring me blah, blah, blah. And it was so cool because after we met, I looked through those journals and I was like, shit, I was describing him, you know? And I have to tell this. Can I tell them the story about the letter? Oh my God. Okay, so this is a little PS moment.
Yeah, this is a great way to.
Such a fucking cool thing. This is what happens when you follow the energy. So I was doing all these trainings. I had gotten divorced and I was kind of like recreating my business. And so I was adding all these trainings to what I was doing. And there was a coaching training in Seattle that I was like, it was another where I was like, I got to go to this thing. You know, it's a weekend or a day, maybe. I don't even remember what it was. I never really did anything with it, but I did this coaching deal and I had never been to Seattle before. This was
just a few months.
A few months before we met. Yeah. And I went to Seattle and I did the thing. I was totally sick while I was there. I was like, I had a fever. I felt like shit. I did the training. I left. I'm in the Seattle airport and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I just get this like download of like my man basically. And I'm like, oh my God, like I just connected with the energy of this being that I'm asking to show up in my life. Like I just connected with it. And it was just this like one of those visceral moments where it's totally energetic. You don't really know what's going on, but I was just willing to go with it and go, wow, holy shit. No, little did I know that he lived in Seattle. And I ended up writing this letter at the Seattle airport to my future partner. And I kind of forgot about it, you know, and then we met and I had forgotten about the whole thing. And one night I don't know, maybe like 6 months after we met or something like that, I was going to bed and I went, oh my God, I wrote Brian a letter in the fucking Seattle airport. And I got up and I pulled it up on my computer and I was like, oh my God, I wrote this in the fucking Seattle airport. And it was like a total invitation to him for what I wanted to create. And I gave it to him, which was so beautiful. It was amazing to be able to give it to him and share it with him. But it was just this, like, I was so clear and I was like, there's kindness and there's adoration and there's, you know, beautiful sex and beautiful communion and beautiful intimacy and creation together and space. And, you know, and I knew, and I just asked and I asked and I asked, and I knew it was going to show up and I knew he was going to show up, and he did. So please don't give up and please don't compromise either, because being in a relationship with somebody who's unkind to you, which happens a lot with people, a lot, is such a diminishment of your life and living, and it's a diminishment of everything that you can create, and it'll affect your business, and it'll affect your money flows, and it'll affect everything. So please don't compromise. Please don't settle. And that said, sometimes things show up not at all like you think they're gonna look. Like, I was not asking for a long distance relationship, you know. My ex-husband traveled a ton, and I didn't think I wanted that. Come to find out, we really love having space too. You know, we love being together. We also love having space. So, you know, it doesn't show up like you think it's going to. But if somebody's an asshole to you, don't let that energy into your life. Please, please, please. If you're listening to this, you're fucking phenomenal. And find somebody who will honor you as the phenomenons that you be. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a beautiful night.